So let me get to that solver. Please work. Here it comes. There it is. Good. Okay. So again, I just wanted to do the solver. So in this example, again, we had, let me see. Okay, so our PV is unknown, right? I think we said the I was 7%. The N was, what was that, 360? 12 times 30. Or you could just write it as 360, either one. PV is unknown. PMT was, that's the monthly payment, right? And since we're spending it, that's negative 500. Okay. Good. The future value, we want that to be 0. Both of these we said were 12. There's 12 compoundings per year. We're solving for PV. So yeah, we get the same thing. So we get the same answer, which is $75,153, and it looks like 78 cents. Let me double check. And yep, that's what we got. I mean, originally I did not get that, but then I used more decimal places. So, okay. All right. So again, I'm sorry that the browser stopped for a bit, but I guess it's not too terrible. All right. Anyway, I think someone had a question about how do I get, let me get my lecture slides up again. All right. I think someone asked how I got the 1.005833 part. I think someone asked that. So if you do 0.07 divided by 12, let's see, that's, let me do that in my calculator quickly. That's equal to, let me see, 0.07 divided by 12. Yeah, that's equal to 0.005833, and it keeps on going. So I put 4 threes there, one more. And then in parentheses, we have 1 plus that. So then in parentheses, we have 1 plus 0.07 divided by 12, which is 1 plus 583333, and 1.00583333. Oh my goodness, that's fun. All right. I'm not sure who asked that, but I really hope that answers it, the question. Let me see. Hope I didn't go too fast. I hope this makes sense. Are there any other questions at all? Okay. Well, in that case, I'm going to start the next chapter. I'm actually skipping chapter 7. Okay. So what I'm going to do instead is start chapter 8. Let me get to that. Notes. And 8, you're really going to like. At least I hope so. It's interesting. It's probability. That's fun. Fun, fun, fun. Do 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 do. Boom, there it is. Let me close this thing down. Here we go. Okay. So this is chapter 8. Okay. Now in chapter 8, as I just said, what we're going to look at is probability. So this is what we're going to see. There are some basic concepts with probability that we're going to see as well. I mean, essentially, you'll see that probability is really just determining how likely something is to occur. We're basically going to use math to determine how likely something's going to occur. Whether it's tossing a coin and determining how likely, the coin is going to land heads up, or how likely when you roll a die, a 6-sided die, how likely are you to roll an even number between 1 and 6? Okay. We'll also see what's called complementary events. I mean, there is some set theory here. So I'm not sure if you know what set theory is, but if you don't, that's okay. I mean, unfortunately, they cover that in chapter 7, but we have to skip that for time consideration. You might see also, I know with the lottery, they have like the odds in favor of, or the odds against something. We're actually going to see what that means. It has to do with probability. And we'll also see the idea of expected value. Okay, we will see what that is. Okay, so first we have to ask, well, what is probability? I mean, what is that? Well, essentially, as I wrote here, probability is just a way of figuring out how likely an event is to occur, how likely an event will occur. You know, how likely will it be that it rains tomorrow? How likely will someone win the lottery? How likely are you going to, I don't know, earn $1 billion in your life? You know, things like that have to do with probability. You know, we're using math to calculate how likely, you know, something's going to happen. There's actually different viewpoints. I wrote it here. What we're mostly going to focus on is the bottom, the theoretical here. There is subjective, which essentially is an educated guess. I don't think that comes up again in the chapter. They did it in the beginning. That's why I mentioned it here. I mean, it's really, you really do it's really subjective when you, how do I say this? You know, you can't actually do the experiment, so to say. I mean, I gave an example here, but really it's almost like with any sports team. You know, how likely is it I don't know, the Chicago Bulls are going to win the next game? I don't know. Well, how likely is it that what's another team? Well, I think you get the idea. Experimental you can do. I mean, with computers especially, one can consider the experimental view. I mean, there, if you want to calculate how likely something is to happen, you can repeat the experiment, and you could repeat it as many times as you like. Like with flipping a coin, for instance, you know, how likely is it that the coin will land heads up? Or how likely is it when you roll a die, it's going to roll you're going to roll a 1. And then there's theoretical probability. That is what we're going to focus on here. And the formal definition will come up shortly, but this is basically the idea. Namely, if you have equally likely outcomes, meaning any outcome can occur just as likely as another one, like with rolling a six-sided die. You know, what does it mean to say it's fair? It means it's just as likely to roll on any of the outcomes. Or flipping a fair two-sided coin. It's just as likely to land heads up as it is to land tails up. Then intuitively, this is what the probability is going to be. It's going to be a fraction. It's the number of ways the event can occur divided by the total number of possible outcomes. Okay, now I did kind of go by the book here, and I kind of regret that only because they do terminology next. And I think I should have done that first, but this is the actual so-called vocabulary here. I mean, here's where I left off with the other class. So I think it might be good to stop here. Okay, I don't want to go too far ahead of the other class, but terminology is where I got up to. So let me